Hello, everybody, and welcome to Conscious Matrix Interviews, another episode of Conscious Matrix Interviews. I am your host, Brad Johnson, and I'm very excited tonight as we have a really wonderful program for you this evening. Thank you so much for joining us on Google Plus Hangouts. If you guys do want to interact with the interview tonight, all you have to do is just go to our event page on Google Plus. You'll find the video here that you can just tune into. Hopefully you're watching it on Google Plus Hangouts right now, or you may also be tuning it on YouTube. But you can just basically go to our Q&A app, and you can feel free to ask questions to myself, to Christina, and to Antonio, as we do have an amazing interview planned tonight. So we do have our two special guests. We have Christina Martine, and we have Antonio Qorri, or Arcturus Ant. Antonio and Christina, thank you so much for being here on the event here tonight.
Yes, pleasure.
Excellent. See, we're so excited. We're already talking over each other, so that's great. So what I'll do first is we're just going to, again, have this kind of a discussion panel, everybody. So tonight we're going to have a nice little discussion panel with a lot of different topics that we'll all be sharing with. Again, there's a lot of exciting things where we have this amazing amount of knowledge through all of us here tonight. And again, please feel free to be part of the show. Please feel free to post your questions on the Google Plus Hangout here, as we are happy to reach them. So far we got one question, so again, fire away. So why don't we start with Antonio. Antonio, would you like to give a background about yourself, about what you do, and how this all started for you, and anything else that you could also share in regards to how people can follow you?
Sure. Okay, so basically I'm a 16-year-old. I live in New Zealand. I'm a student. I go to a high school. I am a contactee. I've been in contact my entire life. I've had the whole sort of memories of higher dimensions and an obsession with extraterrestrials and time travel, and I've had these impulses throughout my life that I was not a human but rather this androgynous light being that incarnated as a human. And I had visions of this as a child, and I actually was always trying to contact my star family being very young. And it just came up to the point around the age of 13 where I started to meditate. And I adopted a vegetarian diet, and I had a very large, quite intense episodes of downloads and all kinds of revelations, and my psychic abilities became very sharp, and I began to start communicating on YouTube about the knowledge that I had received telepathically from the Arcturians and from the different star nations that I worked with. I guess I am just a creative person who likes to express the nature of oneness and the different facets of how we exist in the third dimension and how that connects up to the galaxy and all the cosmic stuff and all the goodness that you guys are aware of. I sell crystals. I make little pendants, for example, just for fun, creating little pendants, little gadgets and whatever is good. I like to draw a lot, and I'm hoping to get a sculpting degree out of YouTube. I'm also known as Arcturus Ant, so I just make videos on extraterrestrials and all this higher dimensional stuff. And if you're interested, you can go and check it out if you like.
Great, excellent, Antonio. I was actually under the impression that I think you were 22 years old, but you are actually 16. So, well, 6 more years, right? So, but that's great. Thank you so much, Antonio. And what is your YouTube address for people who may be wondering?
My YouTube address is just Arcturus Ant. You just type that up, it should come up.
Yeah, so that'll be youtube.com/ArcturusAnt, so you guys can check out his videos there. Some really, really wonderful, amazing videos there. So again, Antonio, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll move on now to Christina. Christina, hello. Welcome to the event tonight, and thank you very much for being here. And if you'd like to give a nice introduction to yourself, and of course, how people can follow you as well.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll talk about what I'm doing on my channel, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I've just realized that I'm trying to wake people up to the fact that we're all eternal spiritual beings inhabiting human bodies. And in my opinion, I think we all come here to Earth to spiritually evolve and to expand our consciousness. And the mind wants to label things and judge things, and I think that no matter what transpires in our realities, ultimately everything is a part of that growth. And it's difficult, right? to remember that that at all moments we're being guided by a divine intelligence. I feel. I think a lot of people have forgotten that, you know, just how to get in touch with their true selves or their beings. And in our society, we're so mind identified, and we're constantly being bombarded with images from the media to, you know, that tell us to be afraid or to stay in ego or separation, and we have to work 8 hours a day, and you know, I don't even do things I like for 8 hours in a row, so it's just sort of it's just not right. You know, a lot of people are fed up with having to use their brain all day and think and stay in that sympathetic fight or flight response mode all day, and you know, people are exhausted, people are sick, and people feel powerless. And I'm just trying to remind people that life doesn't have to be a struggle, and ultimately all suffering comes from the mind. And when you shut off the mind through, you know, presence, mindfulness, awareness, just, you know, just practicing presence in the moment, you realize that you the only thing that you're left with is consciousness and your being, and you realize that in truth you are a formless presence beyond, you know, that can't be encapsulated in words. You are not bound by space or time, and you have the power to do anything. And when you go into your awareness and you experience that, it just becomes very easy to see that, you know, you can sort of look at life with a levity, and you see that everything that's happening is just a part of the unfolding of consciousness, and you just lose all your fear, sort of. And I'm just trying to get people to remember that the mind is a tool, basically, and help people go from the mind into the heart, and help people connect to their truth so they can be free.
Absolutely. And of course, as you can see on the bottom of Christina's screen, her website is ChristinaMartine.com. So you guys can go ahead and check out Christina's website. Christina and I have done an interview in the past, so now the shoes are on the other foot, the feet this time. So it must feel good and great. You know, I'm the interviewer this time, so it's great.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always fun. Yeah. I just love these earbuds. They just get so nice. They're so comfy. But anyways, well, why don't we begin with just kind of opening the discussions here? And I really like to talk about, you know, the new energies, about what we are facing on the planet, about what we are experiencing on the planet, and exactly how a lot of people are perceiving each other. What are your guys' perspective? And I think I'll start with Antonio. What is your perspective, Antonio, in regards to a lot of the shifting of the consciousness right now? Have you noticed that a lot of people, perhaps in your own inner circles, are starting to transform? And how are you perceiving the shift as it functions through the collective consciousness at this time?
Okay, so I believe that for thousands of years, the ancient people have always known that we are coming up to this time where the equinox is now shifting in a way that there are certain galactic alignments, and there is a certain protocol that is being set for humanity to enter another level of consciousness where we were predominantly being kept in the dark by lower frequency, fourth dimensional influences, such as the beings from the Orion system that came in the ancient past, and as we know about the Draconians, and all of the different systems that came in thousands of years ago, keeping us in darkness. And now 2012 is now the time that is appropriate for all of the other star races and the different higher dimensional races and collective consciousnesses to assist Earth to move now into a higher level of consciousness. And as we know, as the light increases, a lot of the darkness becomes evident within our lives, within around us, within the environment. Everything is surfacing right now, and I can feel it very strongly. And it's the part of the process is that the more high frequency we become a flame that illuminates our environment, that illuminates the energy within other people, and we begin to start seeing that, of course, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the planet. There is a lot of polarity, there's a lot of conflict within the third and fourth dimensions, but I do believe that there's an enormous amount of energy coming from many different levels of reality that are all really collectively one, that are streaming and downloading Earth with a template that will allow the Earth to reconnect its electromagnetic grids so we can forge a new society instead of being kept in the dark by the institutions and by the hierarchies that have been in place for thousands of years. I do feel that a lot of my friends personally in my life, there's many people that I've met here in New Zealand that are very young, early 20s, even my age, a little older, that are waking up, and we are developing our psychic abilities, our clairvoyance, our ability to have telepathic communication. A lot of my friends are seeing lots of ET ships materializing in the skies. All kinds of mystical experiences are happening in people's lives because the light is increasing and there is more energy and more download templates available to us because now Earth is available to this higher dimensional reality. So the good analogy I like to use is that Earth is coming back online. We thought as online, going online on the internet, where now we are going into the galactic internet, the galactic network of information that operates within the cosmos.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree with that absolutely, because we are moving into such a new time right now where, if you're really looking at the internet, it really is almost in that sense the digitalized manifestation of where we are going as a collective consciousness relating to, our planetary grids, our grid lines, our aspects of the galactic nature. Really things are just amazingly shifting as well. And I too agree that a lot of people I've talked to just becoming so incredibly telepathic. They're understanding their own greatness, connecting to their healing abilities, their abilities to be psychic, and so absolutely a lot of incredible phenomena really are surrounding a lot of people that are just all over the planet, our friends and people who are just starting to get to know. Christina, how about you? What have you also noticed in regards to the shift of the collective consciousness, perhaps within your inner circles, and as well as how you perceive the collective consciousness as how we're growing as this shift continues?
Well, like Antonio said, we're able to receive more light, I feel, now. Basically, I think that the Earth goes through these different phases. We go through ascension phases and descension phases, and one's not really better than another, but we happen to be in an ascension phase right now, so everything's sort of speeding up, and we're able to stay in love more, we're able to stay in unity more, and it's really a choice now to get connected to your consciousness and to stop listening to the judgments in your mind and the judgments of other people and pretending that you're separate, or just even focusing on the separation in yourself and thinking and putting yourself down, because that only enhances your ego, and then you start to focus on the separation all around you, and it just makes you upset. But we're able to basically stay in love more now, I think, and a lot of people are waking up to the fact that obviously we're all one and there's nothing to fear. How could you fear yourself? And people are realizing that extraterrestrials are definitely real. Like, the evidence is here, and people are seeing crafts all over the sky. I had this awakening, and I realized, I probably lived on other planets, and then I started receiving these visions about, my past lives and things like that, and I felt intuitively drawn to connect to these other beings, and I experienced these intense channeling, telepathic sort of connections, and I think a lot of people are experiencing that, and people are, because they're able to stay in their light more, and stay in love, stay in their heart more, they're opening up, and on YouTube even, and speaking their truth. And I think that's what we have to do, just stop listening to people's judgments, stop being afraid to speak our truth. We all have the right and the power to be gods walking around on the earth. No one can tell us what to do. We're manifestations of light. Like, we're eternal beings of light. That's it. So exactly. Don't be afraid. Stay in your heart. All is well in the world, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's moving on to our next question as well, too, is about awakening. And that's what I'd like to ask both of you guys about, and again, we'll go back to Antonio, about your awakening process. Like, again, because we have talked before, Antonio, in regards to your previous interview, and I think we elaborated a little bit on it, but maybe there's more to it as well, too. In regards to your particular awakening, is there just something that you feel had happened relating to your awakening that really just transformed your whole perspective of how, what you're doing on this planet, how reality functions, what it's all about? Has there really been that kind of very strong epiphany moment that came very quickly during your state of awakening when it first happened?
Yes, one very, very, I guess, recently has been coming to me more and more, is that the more I awakened energetically, the more I realized that what I was feeling right now, the whole channeling, telepathic connections, wanting to connect with crafts and seeing the crafts flickering in the sky and having all kinds of mystical revelations in this inner sense that I'm not a human, but rather I'm a very, very developed light being that comes from this intergalactic community. I've been feeling that my entire life, but I didn't remember it from my childhood until I began to awaken spiritually. So when I awakened at the age of about 13, 14, very, very strongly, and I started having a lot of these revelations come up, I began to remember all of the different visions I had as a child, having the memory that I was, multidimensional. As a kid, I used to always think about what I'm thinking now, but I didn't have any words to express it. So I guess in my awakening, it's more like, how can I bring my knowledge, which is omnipresent, it's always there for us to access, how can I bring it into application? What can I do in my life to make it visible so I can help others and I can help myself? And that's something that's been very strong, is learning how to bring all of that higher dimensional stuff down into my body where I can actually make it useful and I can actually work with it. Because a lot of us in the past and throughout life, a lot of people have a lot of knowledge. They have a lot of things sitting around in the ether. But until you can make the connection with higher dimensions and the earth, when that link is established, that's when you can really start anchoring all of that energy and channel it into the existence of the earth. Because after all, we are third dimensional, and we need to apply techniques and tools to bring that higher dimensional information and channel it into the earth so we can all benefit from it and actually begin to start forging these communities, which need to be started now. And well, what else has been a really big shift for me is also feeling a lot of the positive and dark aspects of the astral reality. I've been having so much contact with the Ascended Masters and the Arcturians and the beings which I don't even have a name for. They're just androgynous, multidimensional light beings that seem to dance in these collective collective oceans. It's difficult to put into words. But also at the same time, I've also perceived a lot of the lower fourth dimensional beings that have tried to target me, psychic attack and having to work a lot with that kind of stuff. People that practice, I guess, some type of sorcery or some type of dark energy work, as well as disincarnated beings on the fourth dimension that can, potentially try to connect with you. It's been kind of like when I awaken to the light, I can see the light and I can see the darkness, and I can see how, as my light increases, I can illuminate everything on the planet. And it's been all about integrating everything and really seeing it for what it is, and then bringing in all of my higher dimensional information and seeing how I can transform that darkness and become the alchemist that I really am. And so we can, what I'm saying. But basically, everything's been about. It's just hit me so fast, all of this information and this telepathic sensitivity and hypersensitivity. And I guess all it is really is about centering, bringing it back into the application of, what can you do for humanity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Antonio. And of course, Christina, with your perspective as well too, in regards to your awakening, was there really, again, like an epiphany, a profound moment when you noticed that you awoken to this world that you feel has just been beyond anything that you can understand as reality? Anything in regards that really stood out when you first started to awaken to the understanding, I guess you could say, of your own multi-dimensional aspects, or that which you would understand beyond the physical?
Okay. Well, I think that my awakening was really brought on by my own suffering, ultimately. Like, first when I was a teenager, you know, I was very mind identified, and I was caught up in my head all the time, and it came to the point where, you know, I didn't even want to be on Earth. I was very suicidal, and you know, I was always energy sensitive, so it could have been different beings, you know, trying to mess with me. I've never really thought of that before, so maybe it could have been. I'm not really sure, but I basically was brought to, you know, my lowest low, and from that point, I realized, you know, I can't have this anymore. I can't suffer anymore. So my only choice was peace. My only choice was to awaken, and everything kind of came back to me. It was as if I had awoken, you know, again, and you know, suddenly I knew, you know, there was nothing to fear, and you know, I had come here for some sort of mission and purpose, and this idea kept sort of eating at me, not eating at me, but in a good way, you know, throughout my years, and really practicing meditation helped to get clear about my mission, and even doing like self-help session, you know, programs and things like that. I was just addicted to trying to find out, you know, how I could have the best life ever, how I could be the best person ever, and how I could help others feel happy, because I had been, you know, I had been suicidal, and now I was not, and I never want to kill myself. I love it here on Earth, and I want to help others, you know, be happy. So I continue with meditation, and honestly, meditation for me was the most amazing thing for learning just how to watch the mind and watch, you know, the patterns that are running in your mind, and you know, it just brings about the awareness, so you can see your mind and go, oh, okay, are these my thoughts? Are these my values and beliefs? Or am I holding on to the values and beliefs of my parents still, or the media, or the church, or the government, or, you know, whatever. Meditation allows you to look at yourself, look at your body, and let go of that which does not serve you. And that happened to me, you know, on a mental level, on an energetic level, and I just became, I feel, a very clear channel for light, for information. And after practicing meditation consistently for a couple of months, every day, mantra meditation, just sitting down and repeating a mantra until you know you don't think at all. I definitely felt an awakening within my body, and you know, I talked about a Kundalini awakening on my YouTube channel. That's the definition I've given it, because it was so profound. And after that day, I could not stop thinking about, you know, the fact that I had probably lived on other planets and had other lifetimes, and I felt inclined to connect to just learn more about myself and my life. And I'd have to say meditation is you have to meditate. You should put it on par with eating, with sleep, you know, because if you don't, you're going to walk around and, you know,
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that you're right on the good track there. And with me, it was all starting with a science fiction novel with me, because I wanted to write something very strongly about the extraterrestrial presence. I wanted to find out what was really going on, and that it was all because of a novel that I decided to create. That I'm doing what I do now, and for me, that has always just been kind of an irony in a way too, and I find it very ironic that was how it was. You know, that the thing that I felt was my ultimate passion at that time led me into an entirely different passion that I love even more. So, you know, that really was just a very, very, you know, wonderful, incredible experience going into that, and just being able to have a lot of these visions, going to sleep at night and then waking up in the morning and knowing things I didn't know before, and you know, that those type of things that just take place. And it's amazing of how much variety and you know, how much uniqueness I see through everybody that goes through their own personal awakenings. You know, I even had, you know, a lot of dark times, so to speak, you know, challenges here and there, and when you really get into the spiritual work, when you really start to move into that spiritual upliftment, you see how the universe just revolves around you to the point where now it can be your greatest ally. It can move you into alignments that you feel you were never capable of. And I think that's kind of moving into our next aspect too, is that when people start to go into awakening, we look into the idea of saying, well, how do I work on my past? You know, what is it that I feel I can do? Maybe I had something very, very horrific. You know, maybe I was a drug dealer. Maybe I got really badly into drugs. Maybe I was an abuser in that sense, or I didn't feel I didn't give myself the love, and I felt that I gave all of my energy away to everybody else. And we'll start again with Antonio. Antonio, what would you say to a person in that sense who has recently awoken and they feel that they want to go a lot further, but they feel like a lot of their past has stood in the way? Maybe they've looked at some quote-unquote demons in their past. What do you feel would be some of the best advice, or perhaps some templates that you would perhaps offer them in regards to helping them, you know, come to terms with their past so that they can live in the present?
Yes. So I believe that when we are incarnated on a planet such as Earth, it is very common for people to pick certain themes in which they experience a lot of darkness. They experience a lot of loneliness or confusion, and often get caught up in a lot of fourth-dimensional beings that, you know, seem to attack at the energy field or influence the energy field, especially when we grow up in, you know, much lower frequency environments, which many of us have. And I believe that without, I guess the typical kind of story for Earth is that, you know, you plant the seed is first in the mud, it's first in darkness, but it's a requirement for the seed to grow. And I believe that, you know, we all need to see and experience the lower frequencies to be able to really discern between low frequency energy and high frequency energy. And I mean, that's very, very common on Earth, is that every single person is born in darkness in some form, because it is very unlikely that you have a soul that just comes onto Earth and just, you know, is born in a chamber of light and is instantly granted the psychic and clairvoyant and multidimensional abilities. It takes very often a lifetime to be able to achieve an enlightened state of consciousness where you are centered and that you are more peaceful, and you know, it does take lifetimes for people. It is normal for us to go through challenges to be able to experience higher dimensional intelligence. So my advice to people who are going through challenges is simply accept the challenges that you have gone through and thank your challenges. You must forgive the beings and the different energies that you have gone through. Forgive it, for you have allowed it to teach you certain lessons that you need for the evolution of your soul. For without those experiences, you would not be where you are now, or, you know, a more ascended person in the future.
Yeah.
So, you know, that is a strong point. Is that, I mean, every single spiritual or awakened starseed or individual, you know, whoever, it doesn't matter if you're starseed. We're all starseeds. We're all from the infinite. The point I'm trying to make is that I have met so many people in this life that have gone through such tremendous challenges, you know, very, very dark times, but they're beautiful now. They are shimmering, and they hold light, and they can channel light, and they become a intergalactic missionary, awakened and alive like a flame, and carrying the wisdom of their higher self. And, you know, that is what it is. You know, it's all about really looking at it from a bigger point of view, not just a linear point of view where you are in the present and the past is behind you and the future is ahead of you. It's all connected as one divine blueprint, as one story that unfolds like the fractal of the universal expression of third-dimensional reality. But that's what it is. It's a normal process of being on Earth.
Absolutely, that's absolutely well done. Christina, would you like to add to that as well too? And again, if somebody came to you and said, you know, Christina, I need somebody to listen to me, to help me out with my past, you know, do you feel that there's something that you would be able to personally share with them in regards to helping one in that sense? Not really just cope with their past, but being able to align with who they are in totality to come into this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was younger, I used to complain all the time and go, "That life isn't fair. Why did I have to be born into this family who's, you know, crazy and yells at me all the time and has all these issues?" But when I look back now, I'm so thankful that I went through all that, because I saw exactly what I do not want to be, and I grew so much from it, and often I find that our enemies are our greatest teachers, and it's difficult in the moment to remember that, but looking back, on your life, whenever you sort of had a quarrel with someone or have had some sort of animosity towards someone, they've usually been aspects of yourself that you have neglected to deal with. So, as humans, we can't really see ourselves objectively. We can't look at ourselves the way other people can. So our difficulties and our things we have to work on to be more fully actualized humans and beings will come up in other people, and we'll be forced to deal with them. So whenever you're faced with a challenge, whether it's a situation you don't like, a person, and often if you don't face it, you're going to find recurring patterns. That's what I've noticed in my life. The key is to just be thankful for the shittiness that you're going through, because it's helping you grow, and you just have to remember to not take things so personally, and remember that other people's judgments are not personal. They're reacting from their viewpoint and their past conditioning, their thoughts, their ideas about life, and it may have nothing to do with you, but it's always appropriate for your for your growth. So you should just be thankful for your enemies and send them love.
Yeah, very good, excellent. All right, we are going to start going to questions right now, so we're going to be going back for some of the questions and of course other particular topics as well. But our first question here is from Sherian, good friend of mine, helping him with channeling. He's doing a great job. Sherian asks, a lot of people who are just waking up feel very confused and pressured, and this kind of goes to what we were talking about. How would you suggest they orient themselves to shift their path to their passion? And so if we're looking at passion, what does passion mean to you guys? Let's start with Antonio. If the person says, if I really want to go into this and follow the passion, what do you feel is the essence behind the passion itself?
I believe passion is what keeps you in a higher vibrational state. So anything that you can identify with that makes you feel happy, joyful, peaceful, doesn't even have to be peaceful, it can even be anger. That can be someone's passion. It's all about what resonates within your soul that gives you the greatest pleasure. Passion is also the fire for where we are going. And it doesn't even have to be anywhere. It can be within. It's just a saying. But I believe that passion is simply something that you love doing and that you follow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Christina, how about you? If someone says, Christina, I want to find my passion, where do you feel the essence would be for them to, really bring that passion in?
I always tell people to, follow their intuition, or, follow the universe, or, whatever labels you want to put on it. But I guess the way to get in touch with your intuition and to get in touch with what your heart wants is to obviously shut off the mind and, start practicing meditation, presence. And even in meditation, you can sit down if you want to find out what you want, or find out what your passion is. You can ask yourself from a place of stillness a question, and then just sort of watch your how your body responds, and the sensations in your body, and the accompanying emotions, because I feel that divine intelligence is always trying to communicate to us through our body and through life, and the mind will trick us constantly. So you have to sort of feel into the truth and feel what you want, because the mind will deceive you, especially if you're really like a mental person. So you have to go into your being, and you have to just sort of get in touch with how your body is trying to communicate to you. And similarly, you can ask life to communicate to you. People often talk about synchronicities and life communicating with them and telling them that they're on the right path or not, or you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. But you can even sort of program your reality in a way. You can say, if I'm on the right path and this is right, show me this, or if I'm on the wrong path, show me this sign. So you can really create whatever you want, and then as a confirmation of your passions, you just have to pay attention to the sensations and to life.
Exactly, and I think that'll be the next part as well too, is following guidance. And Antonio, you have a lot of experience with connecting with the Arcturian energy, and really connecting with a lot of the celestial beings. What do you feel has been your personification, if you can describe it, about your guidance? Has your guidance been perceived, perhaps through visions or any other particular ideals like that? How would you best describe your guidance in regards to how it's perceiving you to help you upon your life journey?
Well, I believe that the like Christina said, the universe communicates with you. It communicates through you because you are an aspect of it. It is not outside of you, it is a reflection of you. And it reflects experiences and feelings and different vibrations to put you in a certain pathway in the physical realm. So the feeling that I get from the Arcturians, well, there's many, many different types of beings that I work with, but mostly the Arcturians and the what I perceive to be the ascended masters. They don't have names. People say Archangel Michael. In my experience, they have a particular frequency which I can just pick up on. It's not anything I can kind of identify with a physical word. Even the word Arcturian is just a representation of a star Arcturus that then represents a fifth-dimensional civilization. But the reality is, the Arcturians are actually spread all throughout the galaxies. It's a very, very, they are a very, very, you can think of every single fifth-dimensional civilization could be considered to be an Arcturian. Because anything on the fifth dimension that shares a technology has a collective like a collective network that operates as one body of light that vibrates on a particular frequency, and it's got many different layers to it. So when I communicate with the Arcturians, it is usually through meditation, it is usually through waking state and dream state. So I can be walking on the street and I can just simply get messages downloaded into my pineal gland, or I can feel a certain resonance within my heart, like a kind of, when you listen to music and you feel like a tingling sensation through your body.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing when I have contact, or when there's any types of shifts or different energies that I feel, it's like a tingling sensation that kind of runs from my crown chakra down through my body, and the messages are instantaneous. Sometimes it is words, sometimes it is an instant telepathic visual message. There are many different ways that they communicate. Like I said, through synchronicity, or through flickers of light, crafts materializing in the sky, all kinds of things. But generally, the guidance that I receive is basically on a daily basis. And I've been getting lots of guidance this year because I've had lots of challenges, especially with psychic attack and lots of manipulation from the dark side, people targeting me. So I've had lots and lots of different guidance just from different ascended beings, and they've come to me in my dreams and communicating to me, giving me templates, very often in the form of geometry, very intricate, beautiful, colorful, prismatic, third, fourth, fifth dimensional geometry. Another way that is, in my personal experience, a very good way to communicate with the Arcturians in the different celestial realms is through psychedelic drugs. And I'm not saying you should go take psychedelic drugs, but with natural plant-based medicines such as marijuana or mushrooms or even ayahuasca. And just to remind people, I don't do any drugs regularly. I've only had initiations with mushrooms, and I've obviously experimented with marijuana. But when I would take plant-based psychedelics, they seem to open up my energy field to a more receptive state of consciousness. And especially with the psychedelic mushrooms, such as psilocybin mushrooms, I am able to completely, on a very, very open, intergalactic level, able to sort of stream different levels of energy and channel it through my body. And after those experiences, I was able to do it without the mushrooms. So it was kind of like an initiation into the divine reflection. And then sort of as I feel the energies of the Arcturians and the guidance that they give me, I will then reenact that within the physical realm. I will do what I need to do to act upon my joy, what I need to accomplish within my energy body, within the artwork that I do, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be guided to different people synchronistically at the right moments in time. Because once again, I'm not just a human. I am an ambassador I represent the Arcturian energy, so I come through to assist as the ground crew, if that makes sense, obviously.
Oh, makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Thank you. And Christina, how about you in regards to your guidance and how it's perceived?
Let's see. I think the most important thing is to remember that the pineal gland is like a stargate. It's your connection to the universe, and if you want to perceive higher frequencies, higher dimensions, other beings, have channeling experiences, anything of that nature, you have to keep your body clean and you have to keep your pineal gland clean. So if you want to have these experiences, I would say ditch the fluoride and ditch the alcohol, or keep alcohol to a minimum, because that really disconnects you from your consciousness. Right now I'm studying Qigong, and I don't know if you guys know, but just for the viewers, the upper dantian, the upper energy center is your consciousness center energy, and alcohol just cuts you off from that, and it affects your liver, and liver actually provides you with consciousness energy, and it provides you chi to the rest of the liver sends the chi to the rest of your body. So alcohol just destroys your energy body, in my opinion, and for me, being so sensitive energetically, it sets me so off course, and the older I get, I just realize, I can't party anymore like I used to. I can't, a glass of wine once in a while, whatever, but it's not worth it. And on the other hand, I'm not gonna sit here and advocate do drugs or whatever, but psychedelics do definitely work on your pineal gland and can open you up to these higher dimensional frequencies. And psilocybin mushrooms, which I seem to be sort of known for now, they actually cut off oxygen to certain centers in your brain and cut off blood flow. So in my opinion, or this is a theory of mine, so I don't know if it's, this is just a theory, but I feel that when that happens, when you're sort of out of your ego and out of your judgments, more source consciousness, non-local intelligence, whatever you want to call it, can come into you, and then you can actually perceive these other dimensions and the underlying geometry that makes up our reality. And, you know what I mean? That's all.
That's great. No, that's great. And I would have to agree as well too with alcohol. Like the last time I think I had a drink was actually I was in Kelowna, and I went to the Summerhill Pyramid Winery. There's a pyramid up there, and I was invited by the owner there. His name is Stephen Sipes. Really nice guy. He just wants to talk and talk and talk and talk. He's like, Brad, this is exactly like the Great Pyramid of Giza, and he's telling me this while he's holding a bottle of champagne. He's got like 2 glasses, right? And so he's basically getting ready to take me inside the pyramid, and out of appreciation, out of respect, I appreciate that as a gifting, and that was great. But I mean, like alcohol itself rips open the crown chakra. I mean, it's not just like a little, it's like raw, it's ripping that apart. And this is what we notice. There's a reason why alcohol has always been referred to as spirits. And it really does, especially when you start getting more into energy work and you understand that flow, and you understand how your grids are interacting, and even just touch a little bit of alcohol, you'll see how those really start to distort really, really quickly. And so, absolutely, I agree with that. And I usually refer to the idea of psychedelic substances, because we always look at the idea of drugs in that sense. As soon as someone says drugs, oh my God, what, heroin, crack, cocaine?
Yeah.
So, no. This is all about plant life. This is everything that has grown from the earth. Many of the indigenous cultures for thousands and thousands of years have done so many different rituals relating to how we can help to expand our consciousness, and how these particular forms of psychedelics, these particular forms of plant messengers can bond with our bodies and basically do these redirects. And sometimes that can be oxygen exchange or oxygen deprivation, or different forms of serotonin, melatonin, dimethyltryptamine, expansion, etc. And just seeing how this is all interacting. So again, everybody, what I would say is just that being able to utilize your form of guidance, and utilizing your guidance to where you feel, this may be my next step. Maybe it is something for me to do, to go experiment with, with mushrooms or with marijuana, etc. I haven't even gone to that level. I have done marijuana a couple of years ago, and it was only very brief. And I just it was kind of just like a nice little easy thing. You kind of just sit back, you would see geometries, in your mind, or I would anyways. And I said, this is all right. It's good. I can basically go there already, but it's nice. So a lot of what I've discovered for the idea of substance in that way is something like sacred circuitry, and being able to go there and perceive these, and just one of my methods has always been just taking a little piece of paper, doing a sacred circuit on it, scotch taping it to my third eye, and going to sleep. And then after doing this, I would wake up the next morning, if it was something with my own health, my own vitality, huge boost, poof, just like that, amazing increase. Psychic ability as well too, with helping myself out with clairvoyance, and all of these really amazing things. And it's just really started with the idea of the power of symbol, and working together with your higher self and your matrix, and connecting together with that. So again, thank you both guys for some really good information on guidance. So we're going to go to the questions here. This is kind of a good one here from Daniel. And Daniel asks, how do you bring that higher dimensional stuff into your body? How do you link it up? Antonio, let's start with you. How do you bring that higher dimensional stuff into your body?
Okay, so the most important thing to understand is that a lot of people, they speak about ascension and the ability to move up and to feel and see more energy. But people often mistake by saying that we're going to go somewhere and leave our body behind. The key is that the body is the body itself is the portal to perceiving higher intelligence. So the body is a sacred circuitry, like you guys already know. We need to keep the body in check. The food that you eat, the water that you drink, the air that you breathe, the exercise that you do, and the meditations that you participate in, or perhaps some type of martial art or qigong or tai chi. All of these things play a part in increasing your energy and allowing you to open up your chakras, which are energy centers in the body. Many people are familiar with the 7 main energy centers in the body. When you learn to activate them through dance or meditation, healthy eating, activation, tai chi, whatever you feel is needed, you will open up the harmonics of the body, which will then allow you to actually feel, not just see, but actually feel the vibrational intelligence of the universe. And like Christina said, the pineal gland is your connection to the universe. It's your connection to higher frequencies. So if you look into pineal gland activation, there's a lot of information on it. I suggest meditation is a very good way to activate your pineal gland. Healthy eating, detox, even working with crystals, for example. Like this piece here, if you guys can see, is a little piece of, I'll show you another one here. It's a piece of a hopfulite pyramid, and it's a very, very high frequency, naturally formatted pyramid. And I have a cluster here also of just a bunch of small pyramids. What it does is that when you work with crystals, crystals are very well known for their ability to transmit light. And as we know, the body is a holographic field of light. So when we learn how to work around with the body and how to download ourselves with light, because everything is made of light, our ability to connect with the universe will be natural. It will be automatic. So yeah, my suggestion, like I said again, meditation, exercise, healthy eating, detox, and crystals, high vibrational crystals. And I have some YouTube videos on this, especially about the crystals if you're interested, so you can check that out.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah, I can definitely resonate with the crystals as well, the stones as well. These are actually Shiva Longam stones, I believe. These were actually given to me by my girlfriend not too long ago, and I just kind of keep them by my desk. And boy, does it ever put me in an enriching mood. So it feels good. Not only is it her energy that's all around it, but it's a really beautiful energy. So, sweetie, if you're watching, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. Like even on my archway here, my windowsill, I have a lot of these different crystals as well too. We have like amethyst, I have fluorite, quartz crystal, even a crystal ball as well too, and a couple pyramids, and they work the world. It's amazing about how these little things that are just very much alive are really helping us and rejuvenating ourselves in that way. Same thing with you, Christina, as well too, in regards to the question. How would you describe about implementing higher dimensional energies into oneself? About how you would be able to guide that with somebody who may be asking.
The first thing I would suggest would be meditation, but obviously some people are going to be opposed to that idea just because of the connotations surrounding it. I have a friend who was telling me, he can't get out of his head. He has these ruminating, obsessive thoughts. And I said, well, meditate. And he said to me, that's hippie crap. I don't do that. So I said, well, what do you do that takes you out of your mind, out of the past, out of the future, and just makes you get centered into the moment? And he's an extreme sports kind of person. He says that, when he's skydiving, he's not thinking about anything. He's just in the moment, and that is a form of meditation in itself. So if you're not the type of person to sit down and just, stop, if you can't do that, if you find that meditation is a struggle, don't try something else. Try an active form of meditation. Take a yoga class, or create some art, or just dance around, and that in itself will take you out of your head and put you in your body and get your energy flowing and allow you to experience what it's like to be in the field of awareness. And once you have that experience, it becomes like a good addiction. You don't want to be outside of it. You don't want to eat bad food and do drugs and drink and whatever. The feeling is there's nothing else that compares to being connected to unity consciousness and connected to just having your body centered and light flowing into you properly.
No, that's good. Absolutely. And there's a big question as well too here. Moving on from, I guess this is called "I Do This in My Sleep" A. And he asks, or she asks, has anybody been feeling twin soul reunions? Because we are going to get into the idea of twin flames and grid point unions since the Lionsgate energy. And Christina, we'll start with you, and then we'll move on to Antonio. Have you been feeling kind of like a very strong twin soul reunion around this kind of time? Has there been any kind of manifestation that represents that?
Well, I've definitely think since I've opened up on YouTube, I've definitely met some soul family members. Met people who just think the same as me and feel the same as me. But on the topic of twin flames, I don't know. I used to think that your twin flame was an exact copy of you, and when you met, it was going to be sunshine and roses, and angels were going to come out of the sky and toot their horn at you. But I don't think it's as easy as that and as clear cut as that. And I'm starting to realize that maybe a lot of the time, your twin flame isn't even incarnated on Earth, and they're, back home, assisting you, working to assist you. And yeah, if you want to meet your twin flame or your soulmate, instead of pining for them and wanting it and needing it, you really just have to go into your heart and focus on being love in all forms and choosing love in all moments, and then you'll naturally draw in the people who are meant to be around you at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. And Antonio, same question to you.
Yes. Okay. So I have actually met some women who I remember from my incarnations on other planets and other dimensions. Now, the whole idea of twin flames is kind of like, there's so many different theories and different explanations on it. People say that the twin flame is like one soul that split itself into two souls, which essentially we're all one soul, and we do extend ourselves and branch branch ourselves into the physical plane, essentially. So the whole idea of one soul, or maybe an ascended master that splits itself into two bodies, I'm not really quite sure about that. I haven't really looked too much into that particular explanation, but the idea of twin souls being, someone that you really want to spend time with, that you really love, that, it's like a relationship, someone who's on your frequency, and, twin flame, meaning two people who are awake, two people who have the energy going on, and they merge together into the singularity. Essentially, the whole story in the third and fourth dimension is the masculine and the feminine. The two polarities, the two flames, the dark flame and the white flame, and yin yang, the square and the circle merging together into the field of consciousness that is essentially our true nature. But I have definitely met some women who I feel very, very strong connection with both, mostly spiritually and just everything, because I remember them. I remember them as being divine beings, and I've even had such emotional moments, and they also feel the connection. Like, we remember each other, like, hey, family. But this is the thing, is that I feel that both with men and women, I feel a unity when I see, and let's say I speak with someone who I just, who's a spiritual person. Very often I will feel this incredible love for them, and you could say that's a twin flame reunion. But but I think that generally the whole idea of twin flames is kind of like a relationship, like a spiritual relationship. Like I said, two flames, two people who are awake, merging into one, and yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's good as well, too, because I'm basically getting, a lot of feeling about the twin flame energy as well, too, and basically, helping people to realize it's kind of like, we are, again, one soul. We are representing that of one spirit. And I feel that if you're looking at the rainbow spectrum together, it's kind of like, maybe a person who's purple will meet a person who's red, or maybe who is a person who's yellow will meet a person who's green. And I feel that there will be times to where you meet that particular individual that really shares a very similar spectrum to you. And it's kind of like, because we are, again, all connected to one, but we are versionizing ourselves into different fractal branches. And a lot of these different fractal branches really kind of either bring us apart or bring us closer together. And I feel that, whatever you feel is representative of your love, of what you feel, who you are, that you're following your path because this is who you are, you're moving into a state of naturalness, you will gravitate more towards those chords that are basically looking to form more one again. And it's kind of like going into a precursor to androgyny, and that you're moving more into the idea that, because even with the females, the males, we all have masculine and feminine energies all together within ourselves. It's not that one particular conduit is 100% masculine or another is 100%. There has definitely been a lot of increase in the energies and meeting people, and even if we're going through some turmoil, it's all part of the plan to transcend past the mud and come into the nice, healthy-looking ground. So let's move on to the next question here. This is from Chanel, and Chanel asks, I've heard food really affects your vibration or how open you are to higher frequencies. Is that true? If so, what foods help, and what foods should we stay away from? Christina, did you want to address this first?
Sure. This is a personal topic for me because I've suffered some health issues from doctors misdiagnosing me and putting me on antibiotics when I didn't need them. So again, this is something that's has come out of my own trauma. But I think a lot of people, this is something good. Look, wait a second. I learned through having some sort of severe gastrointestinal issues that the gut actually functions like a brain, and what you put into it can affect your mood. I recently learned that 95% of our serotonin is actually found in our gut. So if you're putting bad food into your gut, alcohol and even some grains of anti-nutrients, they sort of tear up your intestinal lining and things like that. That's going to directly affect your brain, and your brain's always listening to your gastrointestinal system. So after experimenting with different diets, I always suggest to people to obviously eat a lot of raw food and green food, fruits and vegetables. But I also say stick to saturated fats, coconut oil, avocados, anything that falls into that category. The unsaturated fats like canola oil and corn oil, they're not good for you. So there's been a lot of misdirection, and if a good way to look at it is if there's a commercial for a food, don't eat it. You know what I mean? Just stick to the outer section of the grocery store and stick to what makes you feel good. And I don't really recommend a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet. I just recommend what makes you feel good. Are you normally a hot person? Then eat cold food. Just do what makes you feel good, and do your research.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to the body, and basically, and Adronis has talked about this quite often because some people have come up to me when I'm doing a shaman state and said, okay, Adronis, what do we do? Like, I'm thinking about the paleo diet. I'm thinking about go raw vegan, or I'm thinking just vegetarian. What do you think I should do? And Jonas's response was, none. None? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And then so basically saying, well, you need to connect with your body. Talk to your body. You know, if you feel you want to do that through kinesiology, if you want to do that through any other means, but actually being able to talk to your body, you know, going to your grocery store, going to your market, you know, you're growing your own food, for example, and being able to ask your body, is this appropriate for me right now? Should I have this? And basically, you know, doing something like kinesiology, yes, that's very, very strong, or no, that goes weak. Okay, then being able to pick and choose. So there really is no such thing as a generic satisfactory diet. It's really representing the idea of the diet that you feel is very personal to you, and being able to work together, because all of our bodies operate together, even though the wiring is very much similar relating to chemical bonds, that each of us have different adaptations relating to diet as well too. So very, very good points there, Christina. Antonio, how about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty hungry right now, but
I know the feeling.
I'm a vegetarian, but I eat a lot of raw food as well. I've cut out dairy from my diet. Okay, so yeah, it is true that food does impact your entire body, the way that your pineal gland functions, the way that your bones, your everything about your body is a product of what you put in it, what you feel, think, do, and say. It's all connected. So when it comes to food, like Brad said, you know, ask your body, get into a meditation or a meditative state, and go within yourself and really feel the body and feel how it is functioning. Look at the wiring and just go within yourself if you want to, and ask, what do I need to eat to feel better? A good way to look into food is look into blood type diets. That's a good thing to start off with. What are some superfoods that I personally love to eat, and that are very beneficial? Recently, I started to eat raw cacao beans, and people aren't aware, but you know, chocolate, for example, once you get the raw cacao bean and you cook it and you heat it and you process it in all different ways, the nutritional value goes down by, you know, almost 95%. The antioxidants are not there anymore. It doesn't even become nutritional once you eat it. That's why it goes from cacao to cocoa. But raw cacao apparently has so much magnesium and iron and everything in it. In fact, it's got so much nutrients in it. It's like literally like a supplement. Also, it's got, apparently I read somewhere, it's got almost 15 times more antioxidants than green tea. So it's very good. Look into foods that are antioxidant rich. Look into all kinds of fruits, vegetables. Look at the things you can cook and prepare. I highly suggest spirulina. Very good for detoxing from radioactivity. Spirulina is also one of the most nutritionally dense foods on the planet. There's so much on this superfood topic. A good way to look into this further is just simply go into the Google bar and type up superfoods, superfood diet, the top or most nutritional foods that you can eat. Look into it, and you know, look around your area for some organic shops, and you know, do a bit of experimentation, try out what you want, and if you resonate with it, good. If you don't resonate with it, you know, change your diet. You know, you don't have to be vegetarian. You know, meat is actually quite beneficial for you, especially when it's organic. You know, so, you know, it's a good idea to have an open mind, explore the things that you feel are needed, and you will be where you need to be. But yeah, we're also, when it comes down to unhealthy foods, that does have a dramatic effect on the mind and your emotions. So, you know, stay away from as much processed foods and everything. Also, eating too much dairy, eating too much milk, drinking too much milk, or too many dairy products can also be unhealthy for you. But essentially, it's all about moderation. So, yeah, that's my take on it.
Okay, great, excellent. There's a couple questions here from Daniel Chavez, directed for you, Antonio, but again, there's quite a few, so I'll see if I can condense them into one. He's very curious about the kind of visions that you receive, like when you maybe get downloads or you get type of communications, and he's very curious about the type of dimensions to where you said the Arcturians exist in, which I believe you said was the fifth. Can you elaborate a little bit more in regards to like the communications that the Arcturians have given you, perhaps through visions or a mental process, and can you talk a bit more about the dimension to which they occupy?
Yes, sure. Okay, so when it comes to understanding the different dimensional levels, it's very important to think about it in sound and light. We are all holographic projections of light. The Arcturians and the many different dimensional beings that operate on higher levels of awareness, they are physical in their form, but their light frequency is much quicker. A good example of the dimensions and how to kind of perceive them, or how can I say, like more comprehend them, is you guys might have noticed, you know how they get the cymatic? They get like a plate, and they put a bunch of sand on it, or a bunch of water, and they vibrate the plate at a certain frequency. And as the plate vibrates at a certain pitch, the geometry becomes more and more complex as the frequency increases. So as the frequency goes beyond the third dimension, the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, as the frequency simply increases, it goes from a third-dimensional sort of form to a more complex, geometric holograph. So essentially, multidimensional beings that exist on the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, onwards dimensions, they are vibrating on a much quicker color spectrum, so they have more light to dance around in. The visions that I've received, you know, I've had all kinds of visions. I had some artwork around my room, which, if you're actually interested in some of my artwork, which I depict a lot of the beings and the extraterrestrials and the multi-dimensions that get downloaded to me, you can look into my Deviant Art page. If you just type up Deviant Art, Arcturus Ant, you can look into my artwork, which I have put my visions into, you know, artworks. When it comes to how do the multidimensional beings look like, it's very difficult to describe. They can change form. The technology is very flexible. It's like water. It flows. You know, it can fluctuate. It can expand. It can contract. Once you go into the fourth and fifth dimensions, the technologies are they're so flexible. You can do all kinds of things. You can be in multiple locations at one time. You can be on multiple planets at one time. You know, it's such a it's very multidimensional. You know, multidimensional spaces. They look, well, the visions that I've had of the Arcturians when they're materialized in the fourth dimension is they look like flames. You know, for example, like a flame, like air. You know, a flame is a point of light that, you know, comes up and it dances and it sort of vibrates in fluctuation. The Arcturians and the Ascended Masters and many of the extraterrestrial races, they can sometimes look physical, meaning that there are some extraterrestrials that do have physical humanoid form, or they can crystallize their consciousness into a third or fourth dimensional frequency. But very often in the fifth dimension and the higher dimensions, it is just a fluctuation of a very complex geometric extension of light. So, you know, it's a very difficult thing to put into words, but you yourself can have these visions. I am not special. We are all special. We all have the ability to have visions and to have telepathic communication at any point in time. All it does is it requires your participation in the activation of the pineal gland and the energy centers of the body. And then at that point, it will become automatic. It will become so easy, you know. You'll be like, I never knew I had it in me. I never knew I had it within me, you know. It comes automatic to all people. But some more visions I'd like to share are, once I had a dream state, quite a long while ago, but I had these dream states quite often. Probably, I think it was about 1 year ago, I was actually sleeping, and they took me aboard a craft, and for the entire, in linear time, 8 hours of my sleep, I was completely conscious and aware of where I had gone. They had first healed my body. They had given me a type of, like a high-pitched frequency sound that sort of resonated through my crown chakra and vibrated through my entire body, like kind of like a sharp electrical sensation throughout my body. And then what happened is that I was projected onto the craft, and the craft was not like, it's so difficult to put into words, but I'll try and make it easy to understand. So, how can I put this into words? Okay, so for example, if you're in a room with someone, and you have, you know, a friend sitting on a couch, and you're sitting on a chair, and you're speaking to your friend, you know, it's a very third-dimensional perspective. People often perceive being on a craft as being, you know, there's some extraterrestrials in front of you, and there's some, you know, computers and like a physical cylindrical craft.
The Star Trek idea, yeah.
Like the Star Trek and, you know, the different videos on that kind of stuff in movies. The reality is, once you get into the fourth and fifth and sixth and onwards dimensions, especially where the Arcturians vibrate on, it is a field of interconnecting light, and you become the craft. You are fully connected with the craft and all the other crafts and all the higher dimensions. It's like you are God expressing itself in a craft as all the beings collectively, as one brain, as one mind. And it is like when you communicate with them, it's like they're like transmitting all of this multidimensional light codes. It's like if I were to send information to Brad telepathically on that level of awareness, it's imagine if you could right now paint a picture, paint all of the colors and smells and geometries and feelings and mathematics all in one bubble, and I could just transmit it instantaneously, telepathically to Brad, and he could receive it like a book instantaneously, like that. That's how these beings communicate, and that's how I often communicate with them when I'm on that level of frequency. So, you know, I've literally had thousands of experiences with contact, being on crafts and having contact while in the body, you know, walking around, getting downloads visually. Sometimes it's more intense, sometimes it's less intense. It all comes down to what is needed, what is relevant. So, you know, it's a very, very big topic, and I can speak about these visions forever. In fact,
it's very exciting.
Yeah,
it's very exciting information, especially the way you expressed it as well too. It's very much on par, because Adronis, when I communicate with him, he is starlight, and basically that is what he represents. It's, you know, a sixth density consciousness, but, you know, it's very much on par to what you're describing. You know, the wavy kind of flame, the idea of how they perceive. He's even just come in like as flashes of light in the sky. There was actually a friend of mine from Greece that actually just went out to his balcony one night and asked for Adronis. Adronis, can you appear? And all of a sudden, this enormous fireball came right into his field of vision and just like exploded all of this light directly right in front of him in the sky. And Adronis basically came through in that way, you know, channeling with him, I think, like the week after. And it was really interesting as well, because, Christina, I'm going to get to you in a minute too about connecting with your higher self as well. But today, I do Akashic Records sessions, and I had a really, really interesting session with a client of mine. And basically, it was about viewing a life of his 2,000 years in the future. And basically, it was actually looking on a cloned Earth planet, not actually Earth itself, but a cloned Earth planet. And that these particular beings themselves, they are encased with soul, but they are clones. They do not reproduce. They are basically hybridized. And they're actually another sub-race right now that has created a duplicated Earth, and that this particular client of mine occupied. And what they do is that they are timeline correctors. And what they'll do is they'll actually look into timelines, again, in this very, very fluidic type way, like if you could say fourth density nature, and being able to understand more about themselves by actually looking into other aspects of their own soul, to educate them, to actually get opportunities to broaden themselves in regards to the awareness of their own life at that time. To me, I think that was just incredible, because it was just such really unique information coming through, and seeing this entire culture that this guy occupied. You know, they were kind of like a Caucasian race. They were very humanoid, but they did not understand the flux of emotions that we had. And so I could kind of get this vision of this guy just sitting in this chair, and he's like, you know, and if it's like confusing situation, sarcasm, jealousy, grief, anger, you know, two-sidedness. It's like I do not understand. Yeah. So it's just, and a lot of races really just don't get that. It's something that I've just really been able to discover through looking into the Akashic records. I mean, I've gone as far as close to like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years looking into our future with the Akashic records. And Earth is more beautiful than we can possibly imagine. It really is. It's like looking into that flame, like you were saying as well too. So I mean, really great information there, Antonio. Very great. But Christina, relating to you, because I know you have done a video in the past communicating with your higher self. Would you be able to share your process in regards to how it felt with like connecting with your higher self and how it was perceived to you in regards to this higher self communication?
Sure. So after my energetic awakening, I couldn't leave the idea alone that I had lived on other planets and I had this other aspect of me, and I felt intuitively drawn each night for a month to connect with these Arcturian beings. And I thought I was going crazy, but I did it, and I would send up my love to these beings, and I would definitely feel some sort of response within my body, some sort of love healing within my body. And at this time, or during this time, I was also taking Ormus. So Ormus really puts you in this state of expansion, and I feel that any sort of extrasensory abilities that you may have will... What?
I just ordered some today.
Oh, well, yeah. Take a little bit, like a teaspoon. That's what I wanted to say. I want to do a warning, too, as well, for this. So I feel that it puts you in such a state of expansion. It enhances any extrasensory ability that you may have. And for me, that's always been channeling and just receiving this information that's outside of myself that, I don't know where it comes from. It's not little epiphanies. It's just these, downloads, people call them, of this information. So it enhanced that, and I started receiving visions about pyramids and past lives, and I couldn't stop thinking about Lemuria, and I did go a little out of my mind, but it brought me to a place of understanding, ultimately. So during this month where I was trying to connect to my family, that's what it felt like, I started to, in the day, see these blue lights. And this one blue light, this blue bead would come into the center of my vision. And this is an anomaly. Like, it hasn't happened to me since. It hasn't been something that's, deteriorated. It's not my eyes, playing tricks on me. It was it felt like a confirmation. And, like Antonio was saying, I think these beings, they're on such a high frequency that for them to come down to Earth into sort of this sort of fearful paradigm compared to what, they're used to, it's probably excruciating. So they appear as light. That's the only thing they can, appear to us as. So that's what I felt like it was. And I had this amazing channeling experience, and I was just overwhelmed with energy, and it was intense. It was overwhelming. And I felt the next day, because I was on Ormus, I feel like I could retain this sort of telepathic connection, and it was an internal sort of thing. It wasn't like I was hearing voices or anything like that, for people who don't know what that is like. But I was able to retain it, and I felt the need to share. And I made my video, and yeah. I don't know. I think I've been sort of misinterpreted, and people call you crazy for coming out with this kind of stuff, and extrasensory abilities, our sixth sense, and all these abilities are natural, normal things, but they have been stigmatized and demonized in our society, and I had to get it out there because I had to speak my truth, and being called crazy by people who are enslaved to cultural, societal conditioning is a compliment. So
I was just about to say that. We both start with the letter C, so crazy is compliment. And that's the whole idea. I think it really is, the craziness really is the whole way that we are existing, because all of us are crazy. It doesn't matter. You could have a person who may consider themselves to be the most normal person. Oh, I'm normal. Okay, so you're a statue then. You're a mannequin at the mall. You're just like this, the whole day. There's normal for you, right? That's basically it. It's a lack of expression. And so any time that you're doing any type of expression, period, it's a craziness. It's a uniqueness to yourself. Crazy is just that, that beautiful essence of uniqueness that we all have. When people have called me crazy, I just say, thanks, brother. Appreciate it. What? What do you mean you're Persian? I just called you crazy. I know, man, and I love it. I would be the first over to pole vault over a wall than to stay within the walls. And that's always been my own philosophy as well too. But I also agree with the Ormus that you guys were talking about. I actually just ordered one myself not too long ago. It's called the White Light one from Blue Water Alchemy. So I'm taking those as well too. I usually just take me about 10 to 15 drops, but yeah, I do have to get back to the teaspoons because they gave me this little eyedropper thing, so I'm like filling it to the brim and pouring it in as well too. Danielle also made a really good comment here. She says, thanking the water you drink allows for immense benefits. Absolutely, especially if you start to drink your water, and you're really blessing it. You're kind of holding it into your hands. Put it up to your third eye and give a beautiful affirmation to yourself. Thank yourself. Love yourself. And even going back to one of the previous topics that we were discussing about how one can really harmonize, with themselves. It starts with 3 words. I love you. How much can you say that to yourself in the mirror before you now start to realize this is part of who you are? And if you really are having those challenges, if you really are having those hardships, do what you can to feel. Just go inside, go to your bathroom mirror, go to your bedroom mirror, and just look at yourself in the eyes and say, I love you. You are the best self I could possibly ever ask for. Thank you so much for being a part of this life. No matter if you've had the most rotten day on the face of the planet, whatever it may be, when you have the courage to go up to yourself and say, I love you, and you look into your soul, you look through your eyes, and you say that has so much transformation in itself as well too. So there's always going to be a lot of great tips to how we can really benefit ourselves. But it all comes to the main parent, which represents the idea of mentality. Our mentality about how we see ourselves is the overall overseeing perspective. Then you have diet, and then you have nutrition, then you have mental exercise, physical exercise, etc. All of that exercise is great, but it all comes down to the top of the pyramid, which represents the idea of your mentality. So really be mindful in regards to how you want to respect yourself deserving. The people who really see themselves in the highest state of deserving can really see the greatest value of life. And that doesn't have to be attracting millions of dollars. That doesn't mean having to have a gigantic home with 20 rooms. That doesn't mean that you have to explore every single corner of the world. It's knowing that you are boundless to do everything within the moment. And that's the key. As long as you can do that, you understand the nature of self, but you're also understanding the idea of all as well too, because our whole key here is to understand the harmony with self, so that we can understand symbiosis with the all. All right. So again, really, really great discussions here tonight. I think we're going to see if we can find one more question before we conclude tonight. Here's a very interesting one. Have Christina and Antonio communicated with each other by thought? Have you guys had a telepathic conversation before? Anything like that?
To be honest, I actually remember you, Christina. I recognized you once on YouTube, and I actually had this strong intuitive feeling that you had incarnated on some planetary system, on a higher dimensional civilization, or probably on a field of collective consciousness on some level. And same with you, Brad. When I see you guys, I recognize you from a higher level. And sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it's a little less stronger because different souls and different configurations within the universal circuit. But very often, actually, in the dream state, a lot of us do have telepathic communication. Lately, I haven't really been having too many conscious telepathic communications. It often happens on a subconscious level. It's only when I myself intend for conscious telepathic communication. But it is occurring to all of us because we are all telepathically connected because we are all one.
Yeah, absolutely. Christina, how about you? Have you felt any kind of telepathic connections with Antonio or any kind of feelings like that?
Well, I was mesmerized by Antonio when I first started watching him, so it's really neat to be here talking to him. I was like, wow, this kid is amazing. He's so enlightened. He's definitely from another planet. And yeah, life happens, and I'm just sitting here chilling out with you guys and talking.
Yeah, it's been a great 90 minutes. And I want to thank both of you guys so much for being a part of the special interview tonight. And I want to thank everybody for being a part of this event tonight. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for your participation and for your support in this program. We are going to be bringing a couple more interviews here in the next few weeks. We do have Dr. Joseph Moore, who will be coming up here in the next little bit, and Victoria Vivas is actually another friend of mine who I just did an interview with last night. She's going to be on the program very soon. But before we sign off, guys, how can people get a hold of you? Antonio, how can people get a hold of you?
You can connect with me on probably email is a good idea. Antonio Qorri at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good place to contact me. Or my perhaps my Deviant Art, Arcturus Ant, Deviant Art, or even my Etsy account, my online store for my crystals, which is called Galactic Minerals on Arcturus Ant on Etsy. So if you're interested, you can check that out.
Okay, great, excellent. And Christina, you also do artwork as well too. You're also an artist as well, and I believe that's on your website too as well, right?
Yeah, you can find me on ChristinaMartine.com. You can become my email subscriber as well. You can enter your email on my website if you want to get updates from me, and I message people when I post a video, things like that. I'm not going to spam you or anything. And yeah, my email, all my information's on there. So
okay,
just
great.
go to my website.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Christina, and thank you so much, Antonio, for being a part of the broadcast. It was wonderful to speak to two of you at the same time, have this kind of nice discussion panel format tonight. So thank you so much for being on the event here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. And just before we conclude tonight, feel free to check out portaltoascension.org. I will be doing an event in late August, on August 23rd, called the Portal to Ascension Cosmic Reunion. And that's also going to be featuring Amateo Ra, who has also been on this program before. It also features Peter Sterling. So we're also going to have some really amazing communications there about cosmic consciousness, planetary upliftment. We're also going to be talking a lot about ET awareness and ET contact, and of course, Adronis will be available for the event as well too. So go to portaltoascension.org, our affiliate, and feel free to check that out. And of course, all great stuff on consciousmatrix.com. So thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Have a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you guys again for being a part of the show, and talk to you again soon. Namaste. May it be well with you.
Namaste.
Namaste.